Great. We'll now look into the AgileSHIFT practices. So this is where we are coming close to the delivery workflow of AgileSHIFT. So this is where we are talking about operationalizing the AgileSHIFT practices. Yeah, great. So primarily, there are 5 practices within the AgileSHIFT framework. So these practices are very broad themes that can be addressed throughout the work. So they are flexible and they are appropriate, of course. So the 5 principles are: one is engage the stakeholders, building collaborative teams, plan to be flexible and adaptable, most importantly, deliver iteratively and incrementally, and measure value. So if you look back at the 5 principles of AgileSHIFT framework, so they all sounded like agile manifestations. Now, when you look at the 5 practices, they are very similar. So it is about engaging stakeholders, building collaborative teams. We are being flexible and adaptable, and we continuously, and in small iterations, we continuously deliver benefits and values to our customers, and thereby we are kind of measuring the values what we deliver. So essentially, this is a picture of how those AgileSHIFT practices can be operationalized. So the first and foremost aspect here is engaging stakeholders. So engagement is not just about management, it's more than that. So we have an engagement cycle. We can use this cycle flexibly, and there is no specific sequence in which we can use the cycle. So the picture, what you see, or the cycle, diagrammatic representation of the cycle on the right-hand side, is about identifying and analyzing, defining a strategy, planning communications, and the engaging, reviewing, and amending. This is what we call an engagement cycle, and there's no specific sequence in which we can use. So what we are essentially trying to tell here is the practice of engaging stakeholders, operationalizing, can be achieved through this cycle of, or we can just call it as the engagement cycle. So we'll go through each of these aspects to have a better understanding in terms of how do we actually get into this mode of engaging our stakeholders. So first and foremost, as I said, the sequence is not important here. So based on the situations you can. So identifying and analyzing the stakeholders. So good stakeholder engagement definitely begins with identifying all stakeholders who are involved in that particular work or the particular project or a goal, and then gaining an understanding of their position in relation to the work they're about to undertake. So what role they play is what essentially we talk. So this could include techniques such as simple techniques, stakeholder mapping, or you can build stakeholder profiles. You can look into in terms of the power, the interest, and the influence matrices. So who are the stakeholders, and what power, what interest, and what influence they all come from. So could be your starting point. Then you can look at engaging stakeholders in terms of defining a strategy. So once we know who the stakeholders are, so it becomes very important to consider how we should best engage with them. So engagement strategy at a very simple way can consider what are those, the approaches to engagement itself. What communication channels should be used? How to review the success or the failures of a particular engagement. It can be as simple as that. So your strategy with respect to engaging stakeholders should be as simple as this. And a vital aspect is planning for your communications. Planning your communications is very vital. So it is you plan for, there's nothing called a successful communication, but you would kind of rephrase it to like an effective communication. So we should consider 4 aspects to it. One is understanding the stakeholders. So sending the right message to the right audience, clarity and consistency of the message, and effective system of delivery. So you have to use the right channels. And what is important in communication is collecting feedback and responses at an appropriate time interval. And then the engagement itself is an event in itself. So it is key to effective stakeholder engagement, and this must always be as frequently as possible. So you make use of the other aspects of the engagement cycle to being engaged. So put it as simple as that. So this is where we kind of listen to and speak with all our stakeholders. So all other steps are pointless if we do not actively engage with our stakeholders. So there are a number of tools, techniques, and steps of AgileSHIFT are designed to support this proactive engagement approach. So engagement in itself is very important. Review and amend is one of those aspects of your engagement cycle. So it's important and necessary to track how well we are all in order in terms of the works what we do, to review and amend both our communication and the actual work we are carrying out. So we kind of use this concept of plan, do, show, listen cycle, which we will get into further on or later on. So at this point of time, just remember this cycle of what we call the plan, do, show, and listen. So review and amendment is about tracking how well we are all or how well we have done and what aspects of our engagement should we review and what aspects of our engagement should we bring amendments or changes. So it is both in terms of communication and of course the actual work we are all carrying out. Then the practice of building collaborative teams. So in today's world, building collaborative teams have been talked about in length. So we all know collaboration is vital for achieving enterprise agility. So creating a right environment means taking responsibility, being open and honest, trusting others, and balance team in the tasks needed for the team to perform. So essentially, we're talking about empowerment and motivation. Motivation comes through autonomy. Autonomy here means giving a free hand to the team, mastery over the tasks and activities what you do, and you're all doing with a sense of purpose. So basically what we are talking about is the context in which we are doing all these activities. And then the practice of planning to be flexible and adaptable. So appropriate planning kind of brings a lot of benefits, such as the results are better, the reduced lead time, so we take less time to deliver a work, and it helps us to do better analysis. So, but plans should not be treated as fixed or rigid, so, and be careful about the level of detail. So plan to be flexible and adaptable. So appropriate planning is required. Plans are not rigid, so they have to change from time to time. So an effective plan will bring better results. The time you take to or the time you're engaged in delivering a particular task or value, probably to a large extent you would reduce those lead times and you'll be able to do a better analysis of how well the plans are effective or not.